Nick, thank you so much for having the very first New York Dental Consultant podcast in the Limitless Dental podcast studio.
For you.
Really cool. And we've really come a long way from knowing each other for how long now? Like five years at least.
Might even be longer than that.
Longer than 5 years.
It's been a while.
But been a long time, and I've always complimented you on how you give back to the dental community, how you educate your peers, and you're happy to do so. And I'd really love the opportunity to give back to your peers today to educate them on how Limitless, why Limitless, how Alan, why Alan. So could we start off by talking about how you came up with the name Limitless and where you came out with the vision to open your first office?
Yeah, man. So, I worked at so many different places. I think I associated 14 different offices throughout the years. Practiced for about 7-8ish years before I decided to do Limitless, right? So I was about to partner in a very well-established dental office in Central Jersey. Long story short, he ended up selling to a DSO, which happens most of the time, as I'm sure other dentists realize. And, came to the point where I just go like, F it, I'm going to do it myself, right? So, then I hired a marketing company who helped me with the brand and the vision. I always didn't want to be like an egocentric after my name. I just knew that wasn't going to work long term. So we ended up essentially settling on Limitless. I think this embodies like everything that I'm kind of about. Not only have I taken a ton of CE and I'm always kind of learning more, but I think most people know my personality is kind of someone who just never stops. So the Limitless brand, I think, kind of encompasses everything that I'm about and what I believe in. So that's why we kind of ended up here. And Alan was a tremendous part in helping build the office thereafter and kind of bringing this vision to life.
Thank you. Really appreciate that.
Definitely, man. Definitely.
And so I want to touch just for a quick sec on, you mentioned something important, which is that DSOs are buying a lot of private practices now, and the ways of the past where you were kind of going through dental school and they tell you, hey, become an associate at a practice, and hopefully you build a good relationship to where you can buy the practice from them. And even now with a contingency or contract that states that you have first right of refusal, that's only as good as the offer that you're able to give them, right? And a lot of DSOs now will give more than a private practice single associate doctor can offer. So it's kind of like, you feel that's why you and a lot of your colleagues are doing startups, or?
Yeah. For instance, the office that I was hopefully going to buy into, the number was just so darn high that I couldn't afford to buy his office, because you were talking about a multi-big $1 million deal. And for someone who was so young and I didn't have that much money in the bank, I was still paying loans. It just made no sense to me where I could actually do the startup the exact way that I wanted to at actually a cheaper cost, right? Like, I know that's weird to think about because you don't have income coming in day one, but like the awesome part about it is you get to do everything start to finish exactly how you want it.
100%.
Right? And I think everyone gets that. That's what comes with the startup, is doing everything you want. But like, you don't realize it until you start working at so many different offices on how many things that you would love to change if you were to do it. So like, in my mind, I'd rather do it from day one exactly how I wanted it than just reverse track, right? So unfortunately, a lot of associates these days are taught that you have to buy into another place. Like, you're taught that. Like, you find a dentist who will mentor you, and they will let you buy in a little bit, and then eventually all of it. But like, the reality is that's not what it is anymore, right? There's so many franchise and DSOs out there who are buying up these dental offices that it's very hard to find one of these practices that you're going to be able to afford.
It's worth buying into.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like, why not do a startup the way you want it at a lower cost? It might suck for a few years, but if you know how to work social media and marketing, you can do it just as good, if not better, your way.
And that's what we're going to talk a bit about today, and thank you. And look, I couldn't have said it better myself. It's just the reason why we're doing this podcast today is to hear it from your peers,
Yep.
right? And it comes different from a Henry Schein, sales guy, but I like to think I come off as more of a consultant. So, how did we meet, by the way, if you remember, or when you decided to reach out to me?
I think I met you at a meeting, and I think like we might have just stayed in contact.
Greater New York Dental meeting.
It was something like that. Well, I hosted the Greater New York Dental meeting one year.
Yes.
So I think like because I hosted their Instagram sort of thing, so I might have met you at that occasion, and then we kind of just kept in contact.
I'll never forget. I think it was actually the year of Omnichroma coming out.
Yeah.
I remember it like it was yesterday. We met at the meeting. You mentioned, hey, I want to do a startup at some point. I think it was like a year or something after that. Mm-hmm. And I was walking through Palisades Park in New Jersey, and I got the call from you. Yeah. And I was so excited. I like dropped everything I was doing, kept walking my dog, but dropped everything I was doing. And we ended up meeting at a Starbucks in Hoboken.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
And, we went through the presentation of how to do a practice startup start to finish. Grant, we're not going to dive into it too much, but, you did end up using a consultant that a lot of your colleagues are aware of. They charge anywhere between $50,000 and $75,000. Yep. And I'm not going to poo-poo any of those consultants. I think that a lot of them do a great job, but ultimately, after everything was all said and done, I think, what would you say to your colleagues after working with me?
So as someone who's spent a lot of money over the past year at this startup and have wasted a lot of money, the consulting thing, yes, I received some good advice, and there's good things that I definitely got from them, but unfortunately, I don't think it was worth the price that I actually paid for it, right? And now I'm feeling some of the issues. For one, there was no insurance negotiations that were done with my consulting company, and I won't get into that, but I am feeling that now, okay, because I can't even renegotiate my prices. I personally think that given that price, the price that I paid, there are other cheaper solutions, and looking back, I even told Alan this, I would have just went straight with Alan instead of actually working with a consulting company, because what Alan does, he includes everything that these consultant companies are. Obviously, there's a caveat that you're probably going to have to use Henry Schein. Don't get me wrong. But my relationship with Henry Schein it is what it is. But like my thing with Henry Schein, I've had a great relationship with you guys my entire career. I've done a social media stuff with you. Have a great relationship with Alan. Everything has been tremendous. So like that little thing is not that big of a thing when it comes to everything else that's in your practice. Thank you. So for me, the second office, when I do open it, is going to be directly with Alan and no one else, and is going to be with the Henry Schein team, because they've treated me very well.
And now it's recorded, so I'll hold you to it. So thank you.
So now I have to.
So thank you. And so I don't want to spend too much time on me, and I really appreciate the kind words. It means a lot, and we've built a great friendship over the years. Yeah. So thank you for that.
Hey man, you're the only one who you answer at like 1 a.m. when I'm like, I need some bond. It's like he responds right away.
Thank you. And but I do want to talk more about you, and you've done a tremendous job, like we said, building your brand, putting your marketing together, and your social media is something that it's hard to compare to. Could you tell your peers a bit about how you got started with social media, how it interacts with your day-to-day, and maybe some tidbits you could give back to the people on how you got started with that?
Yeah, so for me, social media started my fourth year of dental school. I had a personal social media that had 500 followers. I wasn't big into any of that back in the day. But I was given advice that, hey, this might help you in your future career. And then I started seeing some of the other doctors that were getting big on social media, and I was like, this kind of makes sense. Back in the day, it started with just traditional taking photos and scrubs, and the algorithm was different. It wasn't so much videos. There was more photo content at the time. Being as a dental student, you can't take photos of your cases during dental school, obviously. You're not allowed to, HIPAA violations. So how do you establish yourself as a dental student in the dental field without doing real dentistry? It's weird. You have to get a different way. So I was doing that my 4th year, and then eventually it evolved into my residency, where video content started becoming a big deal. I started taking my time. I started investing the money into getting the small equipment that you need. You can do a lot of the stuff that you need now with your iPhone and a gimbal and stuff like that. So I eventually started putting out more funny stuff, because think about it, guys. A reason why a person's going to follow you have to provide value to them. And if the value is just you standing around, unless you're a very good-looking person, that is not going to work, right? And we know how social media is these days, provide value. So for me, it was humor at first, right? I started taking the CE courses that were providing me with the good education, because I didn't want to just be a comedian on social media. Well, that's the thing. Like, you can be a comedian or not.
Well, you failed because you're hilarious.
Yeah, jeez. So then I started thinking, okay, yes, I want to draw the people to my page by doing the comedy, but I want to back it up with my dental work. Okay, so that is why that's why I did the COIS curriculum. I'm a COIS graduate. I've done over almost 1,000 hours of CE over the past 8 years. I'm doing those things to get respect, not only from my colleagues for my funniness, but for my clinical work, right? So now I have both these things, that my Instagram is intertwined with clinical and humor. So I draw people in with the humor, and then I have them stay for the clinical. The funny thing is, at my office now, a lot of my referrals on social media are from dentists referring patients from out of state, from out of country.
It's amazing.
To come see me. And you're just like, yeah, you always think in your head that you're going to be promoting for patients on social media, right? But you're also promoting to your colleagues, because if you have a good reputation among your colleagues, especially me being in Jersey City, which is a very popular city now, it is easy for dentists to be like, oh, wait, I know there's Dr. Nick in Jersey City, even though I've never met him and I live in Miami, but I know he's the only one I know.
So if you're not doing something as simple as just promoting yourself, like which all of your colleagues can do, then they're missing out on that opportunity for new patients.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that has been like the key for me, is combining the clinical, the humor, whatever you want to do with your social media. Remember, it has to provide value for who it is, right? And if you go to my page right now and you look on my page, right, it's going to be a lot of comedy. I used to post the before and afters all the time. Everyone knows the engagement is not going to come from the before and afters, right? It is not. The general population is not going to want to see that. The algorithm is going to push that down. So you have to think in terms of the algorithm. For me, that was the comedy. But if you go on my stories on any given day, that is when I get into the nitty-gritty with my clinicals. You're going to see everything from my prep designs to 3D printed veneers to all on X cases. So like, someone will follow me, and then all of a sudden they're watching my stories, and they're like, oh, shit, like I didn't realize that like you were like a clinical guy too, right?
Yeah.
So think of it that way. There's different ways of how to work your social media. I think in the beginning, when someone starts the social media, they have to have that in mind in the beginning. Are they going to be promoting to patients? Are they going to be promoting to dentists? Do they do on a little bit of both? What is the goal? Because if you start your social media and you're in the middle of which one you're promoting to, you're not going to get anything from it.
I couldn't agree more. I look, the amount of dentists who reach out to me to want to do startups, even by the end of it, sometimes they're like, I didn't even realize that you work for Henry Schein. And I'm like, I love my company. I want people to know that I work for Henry Schein, but I've branded myself as a startup consultant. And then little do they know that I actually sell the cotton rolls and the chairs and the CBCTs and consulting.
You can do it all. Bring them in that, and then you do everything.
So you're hilarious and you get new patients for it. You're clinical and you get new patients. So you're covering yourself in so many unique ways. And I really applaud you on all your successes so far and for what's to come.
Thank you.
I know you've poked at some future exciting things for consulting with Limitless on your social media. So that'll just be another avenue of education and marketing for yourself. And I couldn't be more excited for Limitless 2 to come. So,
well, thank you, man. Thank you. It's been, without you, man, it's a stressful experience as it is, guys. So like, having someone like Alan and that you can trust throughout this whole thing, it makes everything go a little bit smoother through all the ups and downs that you're going to go through for your first year, your second year of your office. So again, having Alan, a trusted guy behind you, has been something that's been invaluable to me.
Well, thank you, brother. Appreciate you. And thank you guys for joining us on the very first New York Dental Consultant podcast.